Good afternoon. I'm just going to admit somebody into the room. Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Conference Conversations. We've got quite a small number joining us live, but this is available on YouTube. So hopefully, if you're watching it later, welcome as well. Conference Conversations is about sort of carrying on some of the themes of the conference and things that people want to talk about their experience, hopefully to encourage people to want to speak at the next one or just attend at the next one. So the theme of this year was connected geographies. As a theme, it was really good to see the number of different sessions of people that applied to speak, and so much so that we couldn't have everybody. So the sessions that we did have, we're really proud to say that there was a really good range of sessions, and pretty much all of them met the theme of connected geographies really, really well. I tried to pop into as many as I could, and it was a bit frustrating for me because I was like, there are so many of these sessions that I want to sit right the way through, but it being my presidential year, I didn't feel that I could do that this year, although there was so much that I would have liked to go and learn more about. So slightly unfortunate, but I think that is one of the things, as Catherine, you'll find next year with President, is that it's your theme. So there's everything that you want to hear about, but you can't go and sit in every session because you want to try and get as much in as possible. So I've got two speakers today, but then I would like other people who were at the conference to contribute, who were on the call as well. And I know some more people will be joining in a few minutes. Okay, so we're going to pass over to Ismail first. Ismail, if you'd like to introduce yourself, talk about how long you've been in teaching for, what made you want to come to the conference, and then anything you want to sort of talk about your first experience.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me. And is the audio okay? Can you hear me properly? Perfect. If at any point anyone wants to chip in and ask questions and turn this into more of a conversation, then by all means do. But I've been a teacher since September. I had a bit of a career change, decided that I would give teaching a go and that geography was the subject for me. And I knew that the GA existed, and I knew that Catherine was very, very closely linked to it, so I thought it would be worth giving a go because Catherine was my geography teacher at school. And I knew from studying psychology at uni that being part of the Psychology Association was very, very useful for additional materials, and I thought, well, surely geography is the same. So I signed up with the student membership, and for a start, the resources that we've had access to, especially for my training work, have been so good. The articles that we can get on the website from such a wide variety of speakers. So I had very, very high hopes for the conference because I knew that it would be bringing together geographers from all over the country. I didn't actually know you'd be inviting people from overseas as well, so that was amazing. From all different levels of experience, so I was looking forward to seeing other trainees from different ways of joining the profession, people that have been in teaching a year or two longer than me so that I could pick up advice from them about how to get through my first, second, third years, and people who've been teaching geography for longer than I've been alive, and probably twice as long as that in some cases. And it was just amazing to have such access to people for 2.5 days that have that breadth of experience, and everyone's got a slightly different take on things. I've joined through Teach First, who also meant that I saw some of my Teach First colleagues from London and other places. So it's a really, really nice opportunity to network with people that I have met before and that I haven't. Yeah, as a first timer, I felt extremely welcome. There was nobody there that made me feel like I couldn't come up and talk to them about anything randomly. Obviously, I knew some people there that were able to introduce me anyway, which helped. I didn't realize how many talks there would be. I kind of imagined I would turn up, would be given a list of, this is what's on at 1 o'clock, then we're all going to go and watch this at 3 o'clock, then we're going to watch this at 5 o'clock. But to have so many options at the same time that you can pick and choose and fill your day as you want was really, really rewarding. A bit overwhelming, to be honest, because sometimes I wanted to go to 2 talks at the same time, and I was like, I can't choose. But that was a really positive situation to be in, because I could talk to someone who went to a different talk than I did and get their viewpoint and share what I learned with them. Oxford as a location was really, really nice, very central. I learned that driving into it is a slightly bad idea, but I managed to fix that eventually. So definitely get the train next time. I had a few highlights the key highlight, I think, for most people was Paris Chandaria's talk on the final day. His photography from Kenya was absolutely amazing, and I think geographers and non-geographers would have been jealous that we got to see his photographs live, hear what he was saying about them, his story, the geographical reasons that he's taken that profession, and he made such a journey to come and talk to us. If I had to pick one key moment, that would be it, partly because I love big cats as well, and seeing that photography and getting his Instagram page and being able to follow that journey and hear about it from directly from the mouth of someone that does that rather than just watching a TV documentary was really rewarding. And I got to talk to him afterwards as well, and he was so accommodating and passionate about his subject. My other highlight, which wasn't as well attended as that one because it was in the sort of side room upstairs, but really, really resonated with me, was a teacher from Liverpool. Can't remember his surname, but I think his name was Jonathan. And he was teaching on how he's managed to weave football into his curriculum. And I'm a bit football crazy, so I really, really liked the idea of that on the program. And I've read the book that he named his talk after, Soconomics. And yeah, for those of you who didn't see the talk, he knows that he's in an area where you've got most students born into a family of football fans and have a connection to a local club somehow, and that he can make his geography lessons way more interesting by connecting pretty much any topic to football in some way or another. So he would show them a picture of a football shirt and say, think about the geography behind this football shirt. How is the logo represented? Why is it this colour? Why are these two teams in the same city represented by different colours? Where was the shirt made? How much was the person who made the shirt paid? And so many conversations like that. Also, when you look at football transfers, which are a controversial point in today's game with the amount of money that's spent, a bit unnecessary, but when you look at players that may have played for 15 different teams in 10 different countries over their career, they're probably geography experts in a way that some people wouldn't be. They've been exposed to so many languages, so many cultures. They're in a changing room with people that speak far more languages than I'm familiar with. And every subject that he had, even the ones that you wouldn't expect, could be connected to that topic. And I could just hear how he was talking about teaching this and how he's convinced his SLT to allow him to teach it in his head department and how well it's going with the students. Really inspired me that maybe not as a first year student, but as I progress through my career, if there is something I'm passionate about and I can connect it to geography, and I know that the kids are going to be interested by it, you can weave any topic into a geography lesson and make it inspiring and make it passionate. So that was an excellent talk as well. It was nice to have ECT newbie connection time and just talk to people that have also been at the conference for the first time and seeing what they were expecting, how far they've traveled from, get some phone numbers, just catch up with people. And I think everyone that went, that I spoke to, just felt, not that it's lonely being a teacher, because obviously teachers are everywhere, but as a geography teacher, you've got 3 or 4 people in your department. I'm lucky to know people elsewhere, but I met someone from a more remote part of the country who really kind of felt quite on their own. Suddenly you're in a room with, I don't know how many people attended conference, but hundreds of people who love your subject and will talk about it all day. So I think it's a yearly thing to attend just to reinvigorate your excitement for the subject and make you realize how you can improve the way that you approach it and how you can improve your teaching. Really, really beneficial, and I definitely do it again. In terms of the overall theme of connected geographies, obviously that is extremely important in society today, as it always has been, on a personal level, because I've got a mix of cultural heritage and I've got classrooms full of students from all over the world and all different languages. I think it's just something naturally that needs to be built into lessons and into the curriculum now. I won't talk specifically about my school, but they've done a fantastic job of making sure that cultures are represented and students are represented, and it's a really diverse curriculum. I don't know if all schools have got that. So I think it's really great that diverse geography, connected geography is being championed so that more people have access to it and that it's not seen as a subject that only certain types of people can do. I didn't do it as a degree and I didn't really connect with anyone at uni that did geography as a degree, so I don't know firsthand what that's like. But I've heard that it's not as diverse as other subjects. So yeah, that's my take on the conference. And by all means, ask me things that I haven't said. But it was really nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There's a few things there that really resonate with me. What you just said at the end is exactly my view on geography, and what I wanted connected geographies to be about is that, we're teaching it. We need to get all students engaged. We need to be geography needs to speak to everybody. And sometimes there are groups that are marginalized, and we want to make sure that we're bringing all of them into the subject, and that's really, really important. And that can be through different ethnicities, but it can be through different social class. It can be purely based on where you live and what you experience. And every student's geography lived experience is different, and we need to be able to buy into that to get them to understand the importance of geography to them. A couple of the sessions you mentioned, Paris Chandaria's session is available to watch on YouTube. If you go into Geographical Association or search Paris Chandaria, you will find the recording of his session. Really privileged that he was able to come over and speak. Obviously, I have to declare that he is my cousin, which made it a lot easier for me to ask him. But it was amazing that he was able to share his experiences, and that it resonated, and that so many people really enjoyed that. I think you're talking about John Wilkinson, whose sessions I love. For me, every year, all the conferences I've been to, I make sure I go to his sessions, even if they're not necessarily applicable to what I'm going to teach, although some have been. Just from the pure content, I think one year he did something on 90s culture, which was just so for me, and it was absolutely amazing. So I do highly recommend, and he gives you lots of takeaways to take back to classrooms, which is brilliant, as do lots of other people. You're just picking up on a couple of those. Thank you so much for that, Ismail. Maya, over to you. So believe it was your first time presenting. Was it your first conference as well? Would you been to you were definitely at last year's, weren't you? Yeah. So if you could talk about what made you want to come back, what made you want to present before you go into what you presented about, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Maya. I'm in my first year of teaching now. I attended the conference last year as a PGCE student. And you can go for free as a PGCE student, which was really good. And I went with a couple of others, and I found it really interesting to be able to hear, especially because I was really new in my career. I still am now. But coming in really early, and picked up so many things to try, and so many things which other people had found successful. I definitely felt like I wanted to go again. And I'd done some research as a part of my PGC towards the end, which was about partially to do with media literacy, some work that I did on it. And I thought some of my friends have said that this is a helpful thing to do. I might try and propose a session, because it seemed the people that I was speaking to were really approachable when I went as a PGC student, really helpful. And I was thinking, if this is something that people might want to hear about, then I would like to share. I thought it kind of connected in the theme. My session kind of connected it in well with the themes as well of connected geographies, because it's addressing the increased level of connections that our students are having in the classroom. So I proposed the session. I was really surprised by how easy it was to propose the session, because I put in kind of the key details and a summary, and it didn't take that long at all. I thought it would be a much longer process, but it was really accessible and easy to do, because I know we're all short on time as teachers. So that was really helpful. I heard back a few months later in September. I'd chosen the format to do it like a teacher to teacher, shorter 25-minute session, but it was really clear as to what the different sessions were. So there was lectures and workshops and lecture plus, and I thought that would be the most applicable one for me to do. As part of because it was my first time presenting, I was given a mentor by the GA, which was Dan. This was a really valuable thing to have. So what we did was beforehand we had a call, and I was able to talk through the presentation with him, and he gave me some advice, and he said, at this point there might be lots of discussion, and at this point maybe you could spend a bit more time on this, or you could mention this concept, which I found really valuable and useful. It also really helped settle my nerves, because I hadn't done it before, so I was able to do it for him, and that meant that I got everything kind of out. Any quirks that needed like ironing out was was done then. So that was really, really useful. Then at the conference, he came and met me, and he introduced me to loads of people, which was really kind and meant that I had lots of people around to talk to and chat to. And it's a really good event for that kind of thing anyway. But just having that one person that I knew who was able to introduce me was really useful and really helpful. So I was really grateful to him for doing that. And yeah, and I presented at the conference, and I just wanted to note, just off the back of presenting at the conference, how many opportunities have been made available to me as a result of that. So, for example, coming on here today to talk, I was approached by someone at the Royal Meteorological Society who came to the talk, and they're now working on a media literacy resource. I was asked to present as part of the DG summer the Decolonising Geography summer conversations, which I found really valuable time, and just it was really a great decision to be able to meet so many other passionate geography teachers throughout the country, and to have lots more opportunities and to learn from lots of other people. So I would really recommend it to anyone who's thinking, who's got something to share with other people that might be valuable. So yeah, it was a really great experience, and I thought I would share a little bit summary of what I spoke about. Am I able to share? Is that working?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
that's working. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I'll just click down the side. So this was my session that I did at the GA conference, which was about promoting media literacy. So the first thing when I approach this with students is, what is media literacy, and why is it kind of important for us personally, and then for wider society. And these are kind of some of the things that we discussed. So it is the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, creating messages for people across a variety of contexts and media. Reasons why it was kind of important. Things we know already, critical thinking skills, already so important in geography. But in particular, in this context, understanding the influence that the media has on people's representations of where they're living, of their lifestyles, of their viewpoints, and thinking about our ethical responsibility when we're using or creating media, and a big one, preventing misinformation. We know that students now have got access to a whole range of information sources, and through this point here, algorithm-based social media means children are less likely to see varying viewpoints. Now that we have more short-form content like TikTok, like Instagram Reels, which is very targeted to people's own perspective, it means they're seeing less of varying viewpoints. So it's important for us to know how to challenge that. Increasing levels of information, and students should know how to access that and interpret it. And the key points here, students should be aware of how their realities are constructed and our imaginative geography. So our representations of place, like Saeed says, have real world applications and are bound up in power. So that was the reason why I thought this was a really important thing to talk about for my PGCE kind of research. So this is how I kind of approached it. We thought about what questions should I be asking when we're thinking critically to what we're reading and seeing. So who created the messages? Why did they create it? What techniques are being used to attract and sustain my attention? I thought this was particularly important because particularly on TikTok, there's lots of videos which are very eye-catching, and they're all wanting people's attention. They're all vying for you to stay and watch the video. What's my emotional response? So what are the techniques which were used to make me feel a certain way? What evidence has been presented to back up these points, and which points of view are kind of missed out? Also, if I'm talking for too long, please let me know, because there's lots in it.
No, you're fine. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah, which points of view are kind of being missed out? So I did this in particular when thinking about migration. That was the scheme of work that I was redoing during this research. So I was think specifically about where we've heard of migration and what exactly you've heard of it. And students came back with lots. They came back with kind of mainstream media that they've been watching, mainstream news channels that they've been watching, but also lots of informal, unregulated spaces like Instagram and TikTok, where they'd heard various different narratives about migration. And what I thought was important was to highlight how these things can be manipulated. So this was a particular example about how the Leave campaign faked some migrant footage to try and further their political kind of viewpoints. So I thought this was a good example for students to think about why it's important to be critical about what we're reading and seeing online. There's a kind of framework that I've given students as well. I found this really helpful for students who are going into unregulated social media consumption sites and don't necessarily know how to make sense of the video. So this is not something that I've made up. This is from an American institute where they created the 5 C's of media literacy. These are the 5. It's context, credibility, construction, corroboration, and comparison. So what type of media is the source? What is it showing? The context, how old is it? Is it still relevant, or have things changed now? Credibility, who created the message? Do they say where they got their evidence from, or have they not given very much? The construction, are they thinking about different viewpoints? What is the kind of form that the media is taking? Corroboration, are there other credible sources also saying what this source is saying, or is it kind of a standalone video or watch? And then reading or watching something with an alternative viewpoint or perspective. And I found this really helpful as a framework for students to have when they are analysing a media source. So this is what we did in the classroom. We watched, this is a TikTok that came up on my For You page about migration. And we watched this TikTok video and we used the 5 C's framework, applied it to this video. There's a few things that he does. So we know social media, he's a creator called Ollie Dobson. He makes videos on political issues. And then there are some claims that he makes, which we needed to go and verify. So we did the first 3 kind of together. Then it was their job to go and do the corroboration, the researching, that kind of thing, and like the comparison to look at alternative points of view. But it was really good to consider as well what techniques were being used to sustain their attention. So there's a lot of humour and exaggeration. There's a lot of sarcasm. There's like a green screen effect that he used as well, and interacting with the kind of comments. So that was a nice activity. And they also quite enjoyed it because they, you know, they were like, "Are we just watching TikTok this whole lesson?" I was like, "Well, yes." So that was like a nice activity to do. The other thing that I was speaking about in my session is the importance of language. And I draw upon these 2 in particular, so emotive language and vague language when it comes to the media. So we've got emotive language using when certain word choices are made to evoke an emotional response. Often aims to persuade the reader or listener to share their speaker's point of view to create an emotional reaction. We've got vague language, words and phrases which aren't exact or precise. We looked in particular at this particular example of media coverage of the conflict in Gaza and the differences in language choice between kind of killed and massacred and the varying emotional response because of this. This was a study that was done by Talat et al. In 2024, and it was talking about media representations of different people. So I wanted to get across the kind of use of language and how that affects our emotional response as people who consume media. The other thing that I was talking about at the conference was statistics and how statistics can be manipulated or misrepresented to show kind of a certain viewpoint. And this was the example that I use. This was taken, I also last year taught some core maths. So this is something that's a really big part of core maths, which is how statistics are being used and manipulated. So this was the example that we did. So it was Welcome to Volcanoville, a peaceful town that has recently experienced a natural event. This Mount Eruptalot volcano has erupted. There's been some disruption, but the media jumped on the story using statistics to create some alarming headlines. People started moving away as the character of the town has come under attack. And these are the statistics that they've said, the headlines that they've said. We've got 1 in 4 residents flee Volcanoville after an eruption. Lots of kind of negative headlines. And then the task was here then to choose 3 or 4 of them and rewrite them in a more positive way. So how could we show a more positive or hopeful side of the same statistics? So there's a few examples of that, and then people kind of had to go at this, but then these are some examples that I had. So instead of 1 in 4 residents leave, 3 in 4 residents stay in Volcanoville, showing community resilience. And what this activity kind of was helpful in doing is showing that it's the emotive language or vague language that is really key in framing how we use statistics. So we want students to be able to use evidence and statistics to back up points, but not to hide the importance of the language and the framing of those things. So yeah, this kind of takeaways from it: the same data being used to tell very different stories, thinking critically when we're seeing statistics in the news, and then real world examples where statistics were used to influence public opinion. And we looked at this one here about migration, and students were able to pick out, after doing this, the kind of words in these different headings which were creating a certain effect. So for example, they identified that there's this latest blow in this middle headline, showing that net migration was being viewed as a negative thing, whereas in some of the other headlines which gave a bit more information, it was maybe more positive or more it didn't really have any emotional kind of attachment to it. This was another example that I did about climate change in the media, and it was this headline here. It was a 2018 headline in The Guardian, saying we've got 12 years to limit climate change catastrophe, and we kind of pulled this apart a little bit. So where's the 12 years number come from? How do we know what prediction was used to make this, what data was used to make this prediction? What exactly do we mean by catastrophe? Is it the use of this image suggests kind of the world burning, kind of really dramatic effects? Will the catastrophe happen very suddenly after 12 years? Will we have 12 years of kind of plain sailing, and then after the 12 years things will go rapidly downhill? This is just from this headline here, just kind of asking questions and pulling it apart to kind of challenge or get further information about what this headline was saying. So this was the actual the IPCC report. So it was talking about 12 years before we were predicted to reach the 1.5 degrees of warming. Whereas we know that these things aren't going to happen suddenly, and it's also going to be spatially variant across the world. As this scientist Miles Allen said, why should we be wary of the 12 years to climate breakdown rhetoric? He's saying lots of places we know, like in Pakistan, are seeing effects right now, as opposed to after the 12-year deadline. So these things are not happening very suddenly all across the world evenly. Then I shared my sources there, but I had a really great experience presenting. People were really kind and engaging in the session. I had lots of feedback afterwards as well, which was really helpful, and met lots of people, which was the key thing for me, was to be able to meet loads of people and learn from them and share what I have tried with them. So overall, it was a really valuable experience for me to have engaged in.
Thank you so much, Maya. That's really useful. And I think just talking about your presentation for a second, I think media literacy is something that is so much at the forefront now, with all the different channels of media that students can use. And especially, I think it's applicable primary and secondary level, because things like TikTok, while they do have an age minimum on them, there are a lot of children younger that are watching them. So it's really important, even in sort of the upper year groups in primary, to really start addressing, or even the younger year groups, trying to address, getting them to actually think about what they're reading and the importance of that, because there's so many issues that can come from not understanding a headline or taking it at face value. So it's something that if we put naturally into our lessons, it should become second nature to children to think, oh, I need to make sure I understand what's going on here. What is the actual story behind this? I think that's super important. Thank you also for talking about how easy it was to propose a session. You did mention about the different styles of sessions. I'm hoping that people go to sort of different styles of sessions as well. But we do put people with mentors. You can have a mentor if you're thinking about proposing a session as well. Just ask for that support, and then somebody will be allocated to you to help you with that, and certainly afterwards. I don't think it matters how many times you presented. I still went through my presidential lecture with a few people beforehand and got their feedback and changed things up based on their feedback if I felt it was worth doing. So you don't have to be a new presenter to want someone else to check what you're presenting. But it also shows that you can present at any stage in your career. Just because you are an ECT does not mean that you haven't got something worth sharing. There is always something that you think you do, anyone thinks they do, that no one else has ever done before. I think that's really important today. We are quite light on people on the call live. Louise, I'm going to put you on the spot. But if you did you attend conference, and what?
I'm afraid I didn't, so I can't be much help, but it's been really interesting to listen to some of the things that are there. I'm coming very much from a primary background, so it's interesting to kind of see how that's feeding through. And also, I suppose I'm quite interested to know how much the conference does speak to primary teachers as well.
Helen was on the call, but I think she's just disappeared, or she's having connection issues, who is primary, so she would have been able to talk about that. We do, so for primary, we do have a day of the conference that is more of the primary sessions on that day. So it's not primary aimed as a whole, but certainly we try and gather as many primary sessions on that day as possible, so that we appreciate that in terms of costing, it just makes it easier to be able to attend for a day rather than across the whole conference. So of course you are welcome to. We do have cross phase things, so all the keynote lectures were cross phase pretty much, so anyone could get anything out of them. So that is usually the plan. And then we had quite a few, and we had a primary keynote for the first time this year as well. And so we do, again, looking for new primary presenters. We've got a primary teach meet next week on Wednesday at 4 till 5 o'clock. So if you feel like you want to have a go at presenting, then you could actually present at the primary teach meet, because I do need a couple more people. I might get in touch with you about that one.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, the primary element is definitely there, and we've got our early years and primary phase committee who produce amazing resources of Geo Live, which are available on YouTube all year round, but they do obviously do sessions at conference as well. Clark and Witt's sessions are always very interactive. I think if you've been, Catherine Smiling, you've been to a Clark and Witt session, presumably at some point in your conference life. Catherine,
I've never been to one, but I've always seen people come out with glasses they've made, or gnomes, or different things
Trolls
like that.
last
I've
year
always seen
brilliant.
all the different bits and bobs they've come out with.
And there are things there for all primary ages, and I do think that anything Key Stage 3 aimed could also be used in Upper Key Stage 2 very easily, and sometimes in Lower Key Stage 2, depending on what you do with your classes. I've seen some amazing things going on in primary schools, so I think there's a lot to offer, and it'd be great to have more primary teachers presenting. We have quite a few that get the I've got the name for it, the award. What do we call them? Someone help me
Quality
out.
mark.
Quality mark, thank you, Catherine. The quality mark, and we have so many quality mark schools at primary level, and they're getting gold quality marks because they're offering amazing things. So please share with us those amazing things. So if you are a primary teacher listening back to this, we want to hear from you. In more and more primary sessions would be amazing, and they can be workshops. They don't have to be lectures. So as Maya said earlier, you don't have to stand and talk for 45 minutes. You can if you really want to. You can have sessions which are part talking and part discussion. You could have full-on workshops. The Clark and Witt ones are always workshop based, where you're actually getting people to interact. Physical geography, special interest group always have interactive workshops where you try things out. And I think they're really, really good. You can have the teacher to teacher sessions, which are a little bit shorter and very much based on, this is what I do in my classroom. And I think they're really, really useful for a good starting point. We're still going to have teach meets throughout next year as well. So, if anybody feels like it's quite a big step up to stand in front of people, do it on the screen instead, because then you cannot see, especially if you're using presentation, you cannot see who you're talking to. And they're really valuable, and they can be watched back on YouTube later by anybody. So you are reaching a wider audience than just the people that are listening to you at that time. Catherine, would you like to introduce next year's conference theme?
Yeah, thank you ever so much, Hina, and thank you to everyone that's come along and talked a little bit about some of these different ideas. I absolutely had the best time at the conference, Hina, and thank you very much for everything you did. And I have to agree with Ishmael that your cousin, oh my God, what a speaker, what a subject. we were in tears when he was telling those stories. You know, it was just one of those moments where you're just sat there, and I think you just achieved the theme of connection to its ultimate limits at that moment when we were all just sat there connected through the emotion of this story that we were just, you know, being drawn into and so passionately spoken about. It was absolutely wonderful. So yeah, so it's a little bit terrifying being the person to follow, but things are going to be a little bit different for next April. So the theme is geography makes a difference, and I've got three particular things that I was thinking about when I thought about geography makes a difference. The first one is about making a difference to young people's lives in terms of things like employability. Green skills is a bit of a fuzzy area, but what are green skills, green careers? How can we get our students thinking about some different things that they might be interested in doing, particularly those who maybe come from areas where they don't see these different opportunities in everyday life, and students maybe that haven't got, like in their families, people that are doing different jobs that could be an inspiration to them. And then the second thing I was thinking about with geography making a difference is those students that are, you know, labelled as disadvantaged students, and also students that are you know, just maybe just finding education tough, students with SEND needs, you know, lots of different students find education quite a challenging thing for many different reasons, and geography can make such a difference to those students, because geography can be something that can connect students with places around the world and different localities that maybe they wouldn't normally get to experience. Geography can be something that can make students very angry when they learn about injustice, and maybe that can get them passionate about doing different things. Geography maybe can make students feel a sense of belonging and make them feel empowered. And then the third thing that I was thinking about as well is geography making a difference when it comes to issues such as the climate crisis, these wicked problems facing our society today. And geography can make a difference with young people going out, having more understanding of what the future is likely to hold. But geography can also be a safe space for students to be able to talk about things that may be worrying them about the uncertain future that they're going into. And I always at this point mention Kate Rackley's amazing work on eco-anxiety. And, you know, geography can make a difference to our students by helping them to have those conversations and to gain the understanding. So the theme for the conference next year is Geography Makes a Difference. And the conference is going to be a little bit different. Instead of being in a university, we're going to be at FE College in Sheffield, which is going to be a little bit of a different approach. But you know, that's what we're thinking about, is thinking about, you know, what's going to be good for moving forward in the future, making it so that we can bring prices down for ECTs so that people can come along and have this experience of the geography conference making a difference in their lives. So I'm really excited to be based in Sheffield. It's an amazing city. It is the home of the GA, and I would be delighted if we could see some new people coming along to propose sessions. I'm really glad that you talked about being mentored, and you said that so well. You explained it all so well. It was wonderful. Thank you. Because, you know, please don't be worried. As Hina was saying, you know, there's teacher to teacher sessions where it's a 20-minute slot that you could have a go at sharing an idea to sort of, you know, dip your toes in the bathwater. There's people that will be mentoring people if that's what you would like. You can do workshops, there are lectures, there's so many different formats. So I would absolutely love it if we've got people that, you know, are being brave and thinking about how they can make a difference by coming along and presenting. And then it would just be wonderful if we could have loads of people attending the conference in Sheffield and having this big discussion about how geography can make a difference, sharing ideas, keeping Hina's very important theme of connection. It links together. We can stay connected, make sure we're working in a connected way, and we can share our ideas about how geography can make a difference.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I'm really looking forward to it already. And so again, you can apply to speak. The deadline for papers is the 31st of August. It's a really straightforward form online. If you need any advice, support beforehand, do get in touch with GA directly. You can find myself and Catherine and others on social media all over the place. You can contact us directly, and that's absolutely fine. And we'll put you in touch with people or talk to you ourselves to help you out. So you've got the summer holiday to think about it. I am a lastminute.com person. So whenever I have put in sessions, it's always been on the 30th of August or 31st even. I never do it for the summer holiday. That's just me. I think I'm going to take a break from speaking next year, but I may change my mind by the 31st of August. We'll see. I might just take it in instead. So please do ask questions if you need to. Again, you can decide to speak on other things first if that is easier for you. But I think, you know, the things we're trying to achieve with the conference is to give geography teachers of any key stage, of any amount of experience from any area. We do get international people coming to the conference as well, to have a space where they can work on their subject knowledge, where they can get CPD, they can get new ideas for teaching, they can go to sessions they think they're going to enjoy, which is quite often what we do with the keynotes, is subject knowledge updates and things that you're going to learn about and take forward, not just direct teaching methods. And as Maya and Ishmael said as well, this idea of connecting with people and getting to know other people within geography. Maya said that, you know, things have happened for her since speaking at the conference. It was exactly the same for me after I first spoke at my conference, which was many years into my teaching, but the same thing. I spoke and then people kept asking me to do other things. And, you know, it stems from that people realize that we've all got something to offer, no matter what stage of teaching you are at. And I think it does invigorate you. So if you're feeling a bit tired with teaching, you know, school's getting you down, then reignite your passion for geography teaching by attending a conference and taking part in the subject community does make a big difference, I think, as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anyone else got anything they'd like to add? I think we can finish a little bit early. And I don't know if you want to go and enjoy the sunshine. I think we're at 34 degrees where I am. I'm not sure enjoying it is necessarily the way we're going. Hopefully you've got air conditioned cars to get home and if you need to get home. So thank you very much for joining us, and thank you if you are listening online at a later time. Like I said, please do get in contact with anything you'd like to say about the conference, anything you'd like to be considered for future, any questions you might have about taking part. And Louisa will be in touch about next week. Thank you so much, everybody.